And the White House press secretary comes out yesterday and says that we have a substantially improved tranquility of the global community, that Obama has done that. They've got to know that that is ridiculous. Do you agree with my basic approximation that the world's probably never been more unstable than it is now, and that everything Obama and George Soros and the State Department are doing and the neocons are doing is to destabilize?
Right. I mean, the White House, being the spin meisters that they are, trying to put lipstick on a pig by making this claim. The world is very unstable right now, and the chances are we're going to see an increase in that instability as there's plans to push what happened in Ukraine and Syria and Iraq, try to push that further into Eurasia and go after the two big prizes, Russia and China.
We're going to go to calls, finish with who's on the board. You've agreed to stay to 45 after, and then we'll get into geopolitically where you see it all going. And I want you to quantify in like a 5-minute period, because you've been interrupted by breaks and by myself, this relationship with Saudi Arabia, the caliphate, ISIS, and government officials and Obama, because it's in mainstream news now, what you were talking about a while back ago about members of the establishment being secret Saudi Arabian Muslims. Right now, let's go to Kenny in Florida. Thanks for holding, Kenny. You're on the air.
Greetings, comrades. I want to thank you both for being the tip of the spear to start with. I pray for you often. But
thank you.
I wanted to run something by you. We know that the United States created Al-Qaeda and Israel created Hamas. If the majority of people in Israel don't believe that Jesus is the Messiah, why are American Christians so quick to jump to the defense of Israel? No matter what they do, you basically have Palestine shooting bottle rockets at Israel, and Israel getting back with the most high-tech weapons in the world. And do you think this will ever end?
Yeah, that's a great question, Wayne. I want you to give your take, and then I will.
Yeah, the thing, what Kenny's referring to is, of course, the people like John Hagee. They call themselves Christian Zionists.
He actually says Jesus is not the Messiah. I have it on video.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are they're worse than the old carnival barkers and the old revival tents. But they're deep pocketed. They get a lot of money to build these mega churches. But what they're preaching has no relevance to the New Testament. So I don't know how they can even call themselves Christians. They say, oh yes, we support Israel. They're more supportive of people like Netanyahu and the settler parties in Israel than some of the other center-left political parties in Israel.
But again, I agree with a lot of what you said about that, but you've got the globalists manipulating the Muslims to be radical and do crazy stuff. And why are they shooting these rockets out of Gaza and out of Lebanon if it means they get bombed? And why do they do it from civilian areas? See, that's what I'm saying. You got ISIS over here. I mean, what's the grand chessboard point, Wayne, of doing all of this?
Well, it all gets to the increasing instability. Just when it looked like there might have been some advancement on the peace front, now we have this situation with Gaza. And now the Netanyahu is saying, well, you see, we can never give independence to the West Bank. We got to remain there. So it meets an agenda. And an agenda
Sure.
has been set that the Palestinians on the West Bank are going to be told to look elsewhere.
No, I know, but who could trigger them to fire rockets? Because they say they're firing them. I could see a false flag where some Israeli...
I can too. As a matter of fact, Moshe Dayan said Israel will continue to exist by doing exactly creating these false flag situations.
Oh, you think Israel may be shooting the rockets?
Or at least somebody look, as the caller said, it was Israel that created Hamas to be a foil against Fatah, which is the majority party of the Palestine Liberation
PLO,
Army.
yeah. And for those that don't know, that's in the Jerusalem Post and Haaretz. I mean, we're not, every time I say that, I get mean emails. How dare you say Israel founded Hamas? That's in the Knesset. I mean, that's not debatable. What, 1975?
Right. It's a matter of historical fact.
But see, people hearing this out there, hearing reality, I mean, I don't have some dog in the fight. I don't hate Israel when I tell the truth. I'm reading it out of the Jerusalem Post.
Right. But keep in mind that Israel has been very, very good at doing exactly what we were talking about earlier with GCHQ, using all kinds of tools.
Their system's called Megaphone.
Megaphone and the Hasbara community, right? They can call on for that type of help.
And it's a small political class using instability in Israel to keep control of their population. Sound familiar? Look, here's where I stand on Israel. It has become a political football issue where you'll get 100 Palestinians that are killed or 5 Jews that are killed, and you'd think it was the end of the world, and it's all anybody talks about. I mean, I think it's an important issue. It's terrible. It's horrible, but it's manufactured compared to everything else going on is my point. You got 15 million people, the UN admits, they're the ones that got it banned, 15 million people a year that die of malaria. Another 20 million children that starve to death each year. Another 20 million adults or so. You've got ISIS killing 300,000 people in Syria, non-radical Muslims, Shiite Muslims, Alawites, and mainly Christians. And they're doing it all over Iraq right now, funded and armed and commanded by British Special Forces and others. It's all come out. We know the camps where they were trained. I told you this years ago. And my issue is I'm sick of everyone setting my agenda. I mean, you go to the comments on Infowars.com, it's like a battle in there. Israel's perfect. Israel's the devil. On and on and on and on and on and on. And Alex, you know, you work for Israel. Or Alex is an anti-Semite, doesn't like Israel. And my whole issue is, my biggest criticism with some of the Israel lobby is that this is the manipulation of our domestic politics. And a lot of the Israel lobby supports socialism, gun control. I don't like foreign governments involved in our policies. That's what I criticize with Israel. The Palestinians, you know, I'm sad for them. They're having a lot of kids. And I don't know how they live in Gaza. I don't know how they live in a desert by a beach. And you notice Egypt won't let them in. You notice Jordan is on the verge of getting overthrown by those folks. So, I mean, it's kind of like Latin America borders. And people say, well, Israel doesn't have a right to exist, blah, blah, blah. Look, I understand it was put in there as a colony and as a military base. It's political by the British Zionist, and their reason was different than the Jewish Zionist. It's a disaster. And my point is, it's not one group in Israel. It's not one agenda. And it's the same thing everywhere else. I mean, you got the Vatican involved setting up the EU, and you got the EU trying to come into countries and basically restrict what the church can do. It's all these big power structures that get built, and then all these people fight over it. That's my view on it. But I'm just, you know, there's other things other than Israel in this world. Or people that want me to say the Vatican runs everything. Or people that want me to say, I mean, I just criticized the Protestant Christian Zionists who don't look like Protestants I know. And then you've got you've got the Vatican promoting gun control in this country and open borders, large sections of it. I mean, I've got a lot of issues with all of this. I mean, I actually study what each country does. Wayne Madsen, you've heard the gestalt I've thrown out here, just what I'm thinking about here, what's in my heart. It's a mess and a tribal fight that I don't have a dog in, is what I'm saying. And there's a bunch of different propagandists involved, but I don't ever hear all these Israel bashers saying one word about Saudi Arabia and ISIS, because they almost always endorse anything Islamic. I mean, it's very bizarre. And then meanwhile, I see no anti-Israel criticism of Netanyahu tacitly endorsing ISIS last month. And then when I criticize that, they go on YouTube and say, shut up, Israeli operative, we're going to kill you and all the Jews. Well, they use a different word for it. And I'm not even Jewish, but then I say, fine, if you are obsessed with me being Jewish, I am Jewish. You see what I'm saying? I mean, I am so sick of the mental illness, the shallowness of the public's political understanding.
I agree. You know, I've written at length about the connections between Saudi Arabia and Israel, and they're historical connections, especially between their intelligence services. And you're right. The Israel Defense Force has been coordinating its operations, especially around the Golan Heights, with ISIS. We know that, and they have, and because the common enemy is the Shias, of Syria, the Alawites, who are a Shia sect in Syria, that's Assad, the Shia government of Iraq, and the big tamale of them all is Iran. And you know, and they want us to actually get involved in a war with Iran. That has been their goal. That's been Netanyahu's goal. Remember, he showed that stupid Wile E. Coyote bomb at the UN General Assembly?
Oh, yeah.
Where he drew this line across, says, yeah, here's where Iran is, and this is where they're going to be. And it looked like one of those Wile E. Coyote Acme, bombs, those round bombs. And, you know, what a ridiculous thing that was up there. But, you know, really sort of juvenile propaganda. But you know, it's quite clear that the two problem countries are Saudi Arabia and Israel. They work together. They want to keep the status quo going.
Well, I mean, it was supposedly Saudi Arabia and Al Qaeda that attacked us. Why do we attack Iraq? It was a secular country. I mean, it's just the public needs to stop being so stupid.
After World War I, yes, the Brits, the French created these artificial states of Iraq and Syria. And after World War II, we had to put these strongmen in charge, a series of them. Saddam Hussein was just the latest one, and then Syria, Assad, and then his son, Hafez.
And isn't he an angel, even though he was terrible, that the CIA put in 1979? Wouldn't he be considered an angel compared to ISIS?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, it's now should be clear to everyone that because we created these states, these artificial states, and we wanted to keep those borders intact, we had to keep Saddam in power.
Hi, I'm Dr. Edward Group. Today I'd like to talk about the war on women. You've experienced and heard about the benefits of super male vitality. Now, the new formula has arrived. Introducing the new Super Female Vitality. I have specifically designed this formula to help the body naturally regulate itself without the use of artificial hormones. Key ingredients chosen from the highest quality sources. Each of these ingredients works synergistically with the female body in order to maximize overall vitality. You've heard the reviews and the feedback on how the original Super Male Vitality has revitalized relationships. Now, both the man and the woman can have the revitalization in their own bodies with Super Male Vitality and Super Female Vitality. Secure your Super Female Vitality today from our limited stock at InfoWarsLife.com.